going to bed early is not healthy. Well, at least not for everyone. I want you to imagine tribes that lived in the past. They were hunting all day, working, trying to survive, and pass on their genes. Throughout the day, they would hunt, but in the evening, they were pretty vulnerable. They wouldn't be able to completely relax and get the deep sleep they need just because there was a risk of somebody getting them, some predator, eating them and destroying their tribe. Well, let's say they went to sleep at 12 a.m. and they were getting up at 7 a.m. That means they were getting 7 hours of sleep, but unfortunately it was not deep enough. Couldn't relax their bodies fully and let their bodies rejuvenate. Well, it wasn't exactly that way. The nature made a pretty nice thing and allowed them more hours complete rest. Some people were born and in their genes they had a code which said, I will feel really sleepy at 10 p.m. While others may have felt the exact same feeling at 2 a.m. What's the point there? Those that fell asleep at 10 p.m. could easily relax until 2 a.m. Why? Because there were other people to look after them. And also, once they fell asleep, of course, there was a certain period of time where they had to just pray that nobody gets them. Wasn't it better to have 5 hours of that period where they're risking somebody could get them, instead of the whole 7 or even 8, 9 hours, depending on if everybody went down to bed at 10 p.m. Well, I think it's really cool because that thing stay with us until now. You and I may be the guardians during the night, during the early part of the night, while other people may have easier time relaxing earlier in the day and then getting up early. So that explains that we have different chronotypes. One extreme chronotype would be morning bird. The second extreme, if you go to the second extreme, then we have the other one called night owls. The thing is, most people don't fall just to the extremes. There's some percentage of people, like maybe let's say 20% of extremes. Most people, 80% of people are actually in between. There are lots of chronotypes in between. If 1 in 5 people is actually one of these extremes, it could be you, but there are larger chances that you're somewhere in between. So let's talk about morning birds first. What is their main characteristic? Well, they go to bed earlier and they wake up earlier. It's in their name, morning birds. They like to be awake early in the morning. And they tend to feel more productive in the earlier hours of the day. So they like to get up and do most important work early in the day. They're really focused and are capable of doing hard work while finding it harder to do hard things later in the day. And the world is made for them. If you noticed around us, the regular working hours are 8 a.m., 9 a.m. for most types of work. And even if you're not a morning bird, you must be there. Important appointments are early. Everything is early. Everything that's important is early, making it perfect for morning birds. 40% is actually turned towards morning birds. So more of a morning person than a night person. On the other hand, we have our night owls. They stay awake past midnight. Maybe you know a lot of people and they all say that they like being awake past midnight. You may be that person too, but maybe you're just a morning bird who is lost, have a messed up sleep schedule, and you go to sleep later because you want to watch something or do some unimportant things. Well, I'm not talking about that. There are some people that are naturally night owls, and no matter what they do, they couldn't bring themselves to go to bed early. And they are also more productive in the evening. As opposed to morning birds, they are not optimized to work in today's world. You would say like, okay, but that's a small percentage, isn't it? A small percentage of people, we cannot make perfect conditions for everybody to work. They're not lacking too much behind the morning birds. It's almost 30% of people strive towards night owls. They like to stay later and they're more productive in the evening. So the world is not fair. It failed night owls. There's some pretty bad things concerning everything being related to morning birds, not catered towards night owls at all. These night owls must wake up early for work. It's so unnatural for them. If somebody lays down at 10 p.m., they're gonna feel pretty refreshed at 7 a.m. when they're supposed to go and get ready for work. While night owls, well, it's not the same case. They may stay up until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then sleep just 5 hours until 7 a.m. until they sadly have to forcefully turn off the alarm clock and go to work. As they don't have insufficient sleep, they're more prone to diseases. And they can choose that. They would like to fall asleep earlier, but they can't. They really can't, no matter how hard they try. The harder you try to fall asleep, the harder it gets. That's one of those things where the more you focus on it, the less achievable it is. You must get up to work no matter how tired you feel. And night owls will be less productive during their working hours. That will lead to less success, of course. You're not gonna be one of boss's favorites and you're gonna have a harder time progressing in the company you work at. That's kind of depressing, isn't it? Is there a solution to all of this? If you have a business, then I have pretty good news for you. It's basically find out which chronotype you are. You'll arrange all tasks based on it, and you'll at least 5 times your productivity. If you learn that you're a night owl and that you work better in the later hours, but you also have to have some meetings in your business, set up that the first things you're gonna do productive in a day will be those meetings at 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., and then continue to do some more important work later in the day. It may be inconvenient, but you want to set the time you're most productive for the hardest tasks that must be completed in order for your business to flourish. And you're going to ask yourself these questions. If I could completely shift the schedule to my needs, when would I lay down and when would I wake up? If it were completely up to you just to rest, no matter if you have a business, you have some stressful things to do in the morning, do I want to wake up early in the morning, or am I not really that productive and I'm basically ruining my own health just to hold this business, of instead waking up later and then being more productive and doing better at work? Which hours do I feel the most alert and focused? The earlier it is that you feel alert and focused, the closer you are to the early bird chronotype. So these two questions are really important. Really ask yourself and be honest with yourself. If there was nothing else, what would you choose as your waking time? When do you feel the most productive? What if you're employed? Well, this is actually a lot tougher. But let's discuss what you could actually do. First, you'd also benefit from learning your chronotype. You would also like to ask yourself the same questions such as, when do I like to get up? When do I feel the most productive? Is it 1 p.m.? Is it 5 p.m., 8 p.m.? And that will tell you a lot about your chronotype. You wouldn't be able to do anything much with it because no matter you say to your boss, oh, I'm a night owl, I would like to get to work later on. John, just come to work. Don't blab about nothing. What night owl chronotype? There are people that are battling this, aware of how bad sleep influences your whole health and your whole productivity. If your bosses would understand how important sleep is, then they would most likely be more successful with their business, with you working at the full potential. Those are just dreams. Maybe in 30, 50 years, they'll come to their senses and then do something. What can you do now? Can you change your chronotype? Well, actually, the answer is optimistic. Most certainly you can. 100% chance that you can change. This is why I have a problem with this chronotype theory. Confirmed to be true, you may be born with a certain predisposition to sleep later or earlier. You may have a natural desire to sleep earlier if you're an early bird. But for sure, this can change due to your environmental factors. And what is the biggest environmental factor that could change your chronotype? Simple. View lights at the right time. You can teach your internal clock when you need to wake up, when you need to go to sleep, and it's all based on the amount of light you consume in a day. So immediately after waking up, you want to absorb as much natural daylight as you can. What that's going to do is start your timer for the day, and then you're going to fall asleep much easier after a certain period of time, which is basically around 16 hours on average for people. And this will result in a natural evening sleepiness. So you wake up and you want to go see through the window. If you need to go to the work immediately, then on the way to work, just try to capture as much sunlight with your eyes. When you go to your office, turn on all the lights possible. Make it as bright as possible. You want to give to your eyes the signal, and then it should start a timer for the next day. After like a week, 2 or 3, you'll completely change your internal clock and you'll feel sleepy at a completely different time. If you were the person to stay up until 2 a.m. and couldn't sleep, you'll fall asleep at 10 at ease, because now your internal body clock is synchronized with that particular time, and that is when you'll feel sleepy the most. Light is the answer. By consistently sticking to this routine of seeing a lot of daylight in the morning, and also what's important to mention, in the evening you want to turn off your lights. If you want to go to sleep at 10 p.m., you would want to turn off most of the lights at 8:30 and allow your body to produce melatonin so it kicks in, and then you're gonna feel that sleeping pressure. Another tip when it comes to sleep, you want to wait to completely feel sleepy so you can just get knocked out, because if you go to sleep earlier than actually feeling fully sleepy and couldn't be able to do anything else, then you're gonna start overthinking in bed, activating fight or flight, making it hard to fall asleep. You reach insomnia, that's what they call it. Stick to your sun exposure routine. So at least 10 minutes a day in the morning, consume light. I hope you use this well.